Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Michalis Rikakis, SVP Product at Workable. A little bit about myself. I've been in the product management space for the last 15 years, working from small startups with 4 or 5 people, all the way to large organizations like Nokia, more traditional sort of organizations, and more cutting-edge companies like Google. I'm here today to walk you through a little bit about the story of Workable in the PLG world. Before we go there, I don't know who is familiar with Workable, but in case you're not, Workable is a SaaS company focusing on recruitment. So basically, we are selling to the HR departments of small, medium-sized businesses, helping them out with attracting, evaluating, and hiring candidates for their job openings, basically. Also, I'm sure everyone's familiar with PLG. We are in a PLG summit. But just to set the scene so that we're on the same page, this is one of the definitions of what PLG it is. So basically, you have product as your main sort of growth machine. Since buying the product is actually the actual growth, this means that the product is basically feeding itself. It's able to help customers discover its value, try it out, convert to paying customers, and remain customers. So basically, these are the top, let's say, basic pillars for PLG. You have an organic growth on the top, sort of feeding the machine. Everyone is sort of going through the experience by self-service, and they're able to understand the product, to convert, and probably then to even sort of upgrade to a higher plan or buy new features. During this journey, a user is able to sort of understand the value during the onboarding phase, and eventually the product sort of helps itself retain the customers. So these are, let's say, the 4, what's PLG right now, let's say, if you look in the documentation, these are the main, let's say, 4 pillars when we're talking about PLG. So I'd like to go back in time with you to what has happened with Workable in the PLG world. And as Gerasimos gave a disclaimer previously in a talk, so this is it's not what you should be doing or not be doing. I'm basically going to show you what has happened in this company with some lessons learned. And yeah, let's get to it. So this is Workable 2013. Workable in 2013 was a company of 6, 7, 10 people, 1 designer, a few developers, and a couple of people for customer support, and some marketing maybe folks as well. So there was no salesperson, and there were no account managers or anything. This is, for example, what the pricing page looked like back then. And it has some interesting points if you pay attention, and do pay attention. I'm going to ask you later on about this slide. So you see, first of all, there are prices everywhere, right? So the customer sees right away what they're buying. There is the differentiation between the plans is on active jobs. So basically, that was what the team thought about that made more sense. Like if you only want to have 1 job opening, you can buy a small plan. If you want to have more job openings, buy a bigger plan, right? Also, if you pay very close attention, probably you cannot from that distance, but there is no contact us or talk to us or anything here, because as I said, there is no one to talk to, right? So that's what Workable looked in 2013. Looks like a PLG company, maybe. So with this setup, actually the company reached 10 million ARR without a single salesperson. So they had a very low acquisition cost. Everyone was going through the funnel, looking what they liked, bought it with a credit card, boom, they were ready. The team was able to identify what were the most important, let's say, conversion points in this funnel. For the particular use case, it had to do with getting candidates in your job opening. So after a certain number of candidates, The team saw that there was a big probability that the customer will eventually convert. They were getting actually the candidates on the free trial. As I said, the conversion was fully self-service, and everything looked perfect, right? Yes and no, right? Having sort of this type of automation, but also no real human contact with your customers is hiding some problems which are hard to actually visualize in the beginning. For example, visitors were struggling with a plan structure. How do I know if for this year I'm going to buy an annual plan, right? How do I know if this year I'm going to need 5 job openings open at the same time or not, right? Maybe, I'll need 3 people in Q1, maybe I'll need 2 in Q2, but I don't know if I'll have finished with my hiring on Q1. This is hard to predict, right? So the choice of a plan was a struggle. There was no onboarding support. So basically, whoever bought the service was trying to set up everything themselves. There were some things which were not great, and they were struggling with that. Product feedback was coming only through customer service. What does that mean? So you have your customer base bringing up some problems, right, with the support team. This is sort of like the joke, like the anecdote in the Second World War, where they were getting input of where to reinforce the warplanes by looking at the bullets that the planes had when they came back from the battle, right? So they were looking at the ones that actually survived. The ones that they never looked at were the ones that had actually fallen, right? So that's what was happening there with Workable. There were customers leaving, and nobody knew why, right? We were only getting feedback from the ones that stayed. So that was a problem. And as a result, there was the roadmap was not driven, let's say, by customers. It was mainly driven, let's say, by top-level management, what they thought was right, which to some extent it was, but there were also things that were being missed. What did we do? We brought in the sales team. We say, oh, we need to talk to customers, right? So we need SDRs reaching out, I don't know, calling outbound. We need inbound. We need account executives to get a handover from the SDRs for the hot leads and give them demos, right? And maybe then negotiate a plan. We need account managers to talk with the customers and sort of hold them hand-in-hand into making them stay longer and renewing or upgrading their plan. So that happened a little bit later in 2017. So from a PLG, let's say, from a PLG company, or a sort of PLG company, as you saw, we went to a sales-led company. As a comparison, I told you to pay attention before, right? These are the plans and what they look like when going that direction. Let's pay attention to the same things that we paid before. Now there are no prices, right? You don't know what you're getting into. You need to talk with someone and negotiate that. Secondly, the CTAs. You have still the try it for free, which is the free trial, but it hides there a detail. From the free trial, you cannot buy a plan without talking with someone. You don't know it at this point, but you will figure out once you start your trial. And you have then the pro, like the big, let's say, plan, which you cannot even try for free, or at least with this page, you cannot try it. You should talk with someone right away. There are also more differences. Now the plans, as you see, are feature gated. So different features for different plans. Okay, so for example, if you want the pay-as-you-go, you get these features. If you want to upgrade, you will need the starter. If you want even more, you'll need to go to Pro. Why did we do that? Because salespeople need something in order to convince the customer to buy. So someone who would be on pay-go, how would the sales team convince them to upgrade, right? So they need some type of value to be visible to have an easier discussion. Let's see how that went. It actually went pretty well, right? So we saw the the ACV, so the average contract value, and the ARR, basically the annual revenue, increase. Why was that? We were able to talk to larger customers, sales could do sort of negotiations, we got higher contracts. We had onboarding support, so we had a team to help out customers sort of set up their account. That was great, so it was getting them up and running right away. We had a team now capturing feedback from customers. So we had account managers, right? So who was telling us customer XYZ wants to, this type of feature. Or, these ones are threatening to leave because we don't have this, or they left because we didn't have this. Same with account executives. They were able to give us feedback of why we were losing some deals. And so the roadmap was able then to become more customer-driven, which was a good thing. Amazing, right? Again, kind of. Yes and no. The plans. So yes, they were easier for someone to understand from the previous, what we had previously, which has to do with open positions. Now we had sort of different feature sets in the different plans. That was, again, not ideal. I'm going to touch on that also later on, so just I'll put a sort of bullet here. We had a higher sort of cost of acquisition now. We had to pay a sales team. We had to pay SDRs. So it was not very, let's say, efficient to target now small and medium-sized businesses. We had to go sort of upstream to the more sort of high-value accounts, which was a problem because, as you saw from the beginning, Workable was a company which was sort of focusing more on small-size accounts. So the product was geared for that. So suddenly getting requirements for someone who may have, 2,000 employees, and they have different types of requirements like, automations, customizations, integrations with complex systems, was not something that we had in mind. So suddenly these things started becoming a priority, which were only applicable to a very small slice of our customer base. Also, the self-service part that was built initially was now neglected. So if someone wanted, for example, to create a custom pipeline for their recruiting process, they had to talk to professional services, and they were able sort of to do that. If they want to do themselves, yeah, it's complex, let's not build it right now. Let's have professional services run it for us. So the self-service sort of experience was a bit neglected and in some places broken. So let's go back to the future, or back to today, basically. So we, as a company, we also, of course, saw these problems that came up from sales-led, which was also not ideal. So to our understanding and experience, the answer is in a combination of both worlds. Both, let's say, sales-driven, let's say, a mentality, or keeping basically the best of this mentality, but certainly also have a more self-service sort of experience. What is that? That's what they call now PLS, product-led sales, right? This is what our plans look right now. But let me first talk a little bit about product sales, and I'll go here as well. So the main principle, let's say, of PLS is basically that a customer can go to the product, they can try it out, they can have the full experience of the product so that they can understand the value. If they want to talk with someone is available. They're able to buy, if they want, with a credit card, right? If they don't want to buy with a credit card because maybe it's a big customer or maybe they're not sure what they need, they can talk with someone. Someone can send them a code, or someone can send them a link saying, here it is, now you can use your credit card since it is clear for you, right? You have a very transparent pricing. So everyone understands from the beginning what is happening. So basically from here, you see, again, going back to the same details, as I said, the pricing is transparent. If you see the feature sort of differentiation between the plans, they're very similar, let's say, right now. So most of the features, which are under a link here, so it's a long list of features that are available to all plans. So it's a very small sort of difference here, and the idea is that everyone can experience the full product. We don't want them to limit, let's say, the functionality of the product only to get them to upgrade. And we shifted towards a company-size type of model, which is somewhat standard in the HR space. And that's what people have been using for other HR tools, mainly because other HR tools have to do with how many employees do you have, because that's what you need the HR tool for. For some reason, that's what was happening also in this recruitment software space. So we shifted to that. And some extra features which are on the Premier, there are features which have to do with, again, sort of large organizations or more customizability and the existence of account management. The other two plans do not have a sort of account manager dedicated to you, but you can get help from dedicated teams. So this is basically what we decided to do. So everyone, as I said, everyone can sort of buy either on their own. They can reach out at any point, get assistance. They're able to upgrade if they want. They're able to change plan, downgrade. All of these things are now enabled to do either self-service or through sales. We talked about full feature plans. The value of the product is shown with a full feature trial. So as I said, no feature gating, nothing. You get the full experience from the beginning. Also, if you want a demo, you can get a demo. I forgot actually to show that. That was the last thing I want to point out. There's a link here. Like here you can start the trial, but if you want a demo, you can get it. It's a live demo. You can get it right away for the full product. We actually created a capability that you can experience the product, the full product with sample data, like a sandbox, basically. And also, we enabled our sales team to be able to do demos on the actual account of the customer rather than on a, let's say, a standalone demo environment. So we call this an interactive trial. So they can create sample data on their own account. They can see how things are working together with a salesperson, sort of talking to them at that point. We have enabled full automation when it comes to customer feedback so that we gather information from both customer-facing teams, but also self-service from a customer who wants to submit it, let's say, through a online PSAT or NPS, let's say, survey. We also enabled a lot of buying options, right? You can buy with a credit card. You can make a bank transfer if you want. You can get a quote and an invoice, let's say, from sales. It's whatever you want. It doesn't matter which plan you have all the options. And also we enabled, let's say, the broken path of configurability, customizability to be able also to be done self-service and not only with professional services. So far, things are looking well. I'm not saying it's perfect, but they're going okay. We have a lower cost of acquisition now. There's a big chunk of our customers, I think it's like 40% right now, who are completely self-service. And this rate is growing. We have a very good win rate because now the customers can actually experience the product firsthand from the beginning, let's say from the trial. They can get high-value demos. They can create sample data and play around by themselves with the product. So it's, there is many ways to discover sort of the value, and which leads to high win rate. The sales cycle is, again, shorter. A salesperson doesn't need to be involved from the beginning until the end throughout, let's say, the initial sort of product discovery phase for someone. ACV is OK, and retention also looks good. So it's probably like, at least for this company, for Workable, it looks like the right formula. We still need to do a lot of work, and this is, again, specific, let's say, to where we are. As I said, we had two isolated worlds in the beginning, one which was completely self-service in terms of billing, invoicing, et cetera, and one which was completely sales-led. The integration of those two is not an easy thing, I can tell you. But we are making good progress on that. We also did not have the capability to have multiple currency, like if someone wanted to buy in a different currency than dollars, for example. It was not an easy thing. They had to contact sales. We had to do that also, or we're building that also for the self-service, let's say, experience. We want to do hot handoffs for instant demos. So if someone is sort of trying the free trial, trying to figure out things, and at some point they get confused, they can click a button and ask for a demo, and someone is right away available to show them around. We need to work more on our organic growth. We're still sort of relying a lot on demand generation from paid ads. Of course, there is a lot of traffic coming from SEO, etc., but we need more work there. And yeah, onboarding also needs to be fully self-service as well, so that someone can understand, but also set up their account easily by themselves. So just a final slide with some takeaways. Again, this is not something that you should definitely do. Of course, you should look into what your organization is currently doing, problems that are happening there, and how things are working for you and for your specific product. But overall, from what we have seen, you need to be always sort of focusing on your customer needs, so getting always that feedback from your customers, either through the sales teams or self-service. The full product value, the discoverability of the full product value and hands-on sort of experience is key for win rates. And we should not be putting limits to customers for how they should buy, because we do not support sort of their desired sort of channel. We need to give them options. This should not be a barrier, and because this is a very critical, let's say, part of the customer journey, the conversion part. And if possible, implement organic growth loops. This is a big discussion of how to do that. But yeah, depending on your product and your business model, if you have free trials, it's okay. If you have a freemium product, it's even better, potentially. Other ways of organic growth you're probably familiar with, but keep them in mind, they're very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michalis. So we're out of time again, so I'm gonna go only for the first question, which is, do you believe that storytelling has a place in Workable instead of the usual user stories that start as a user So would you use storytelling in your software development, I guess?
We do. There are many different sort of frameworks, let's say, that can be used while we're designing products, and it's really up to the specific sort of need that you have, but also what works best for organizations. So we have like journey mapping, or I don't know, different types of, there are many frameworks that can be deployed. We are trying them out, many of them, different teams using the ones that they prefer. Yeah, so all of those techniques are really good, as long as you actually sort of use them and you and you are able to get the results that you want. This has to do a lot with also getting the buy-in from stakeholders and getting the team more sort of in line with what you want to be doing, and clarifying all the risks and complexity for the different things that you're building early in the stage, so that you make things more predictable and then your plan is more accurate.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.